This is an Oscar.
Yes. Hippos are over there.
Hippos.
They're over here.
That's a herd of fish.
Looking at?
I'm looking at a bunch of fish.
What do they call a bunch of fish?
A school of fish.
If you watch them, they all swim in one direction.
And they all swim in one direction. And see that big fish?
Once one of them turns, all of them turn. Watch.
Can you
Them all
see?
coming this way? They're coming this way for a reason.
Because there's a big animal, and I want you to guess what it is. Oh look, there's a fish right here.
Oh, here he is, Millie, over here.
Here's a hippo and the other school of fish. Look, there's a bunch of baby fish at the bottom. Here, as you can see, there's a huge, humongous alligator sleeping. And then if we come underwater, we can see big fish. As you can see, there's an alligator on the floor. Here's Mom by the big ferocious lion. It's not actually a real lion, it's actually fake. And then we're back to here. You get very closely, you can see the spine. And you can see the spines. And you can see the two eyeballs where the eyeball part goes. And those are sounds of, oh man, this is Dad.
Millie went on her first official roller coaster ride today. Stay tuned for that footage. No!
Stay tuned.
www.matrixdiamond.com. We're looking at a bunch of gazelles. As we're going, we see the train, and then we see gazelles eating. This is striped deer. They sort of look kind of like gazelles. See? They're all eating. They're probably eating lunch or breakfast. Now, you can tell if it's a baby by if it's small, which this one, get a closer look, it is small. Look, the rest of these, big. I'm looking at parasite worms that are sometimes go into animals and they eat people's food or animals' food in their stomach and they get sick. So you can see, there's a sign. Parasites.
Look, this is what you're gonna
This leg and get back to the animal care center where we can do further diagnostics, specifically the. Let's get this bandaged up and. Lovely views of the same leg. We have a spiral fracture of the tarsometatarsus noted here, and again in the other view here. There's not much displacement, and it should respond really quite nicely to surgical correction with external fixation. Simply put, an external fixator device consists of a series of stainless steel surgical pins that are placed through the bone and are given rigidity by the use of a two-part pins. At this point, we've corrected the fracture surgically using an external fixator device. The device will remain in place for approximately 6 weeks as the bone heals. We'll do periodic rechecks and repeat the radiographs to ensure proper callus formation before we remove the device. Thanks for being a part of our animal care team. To stay up to date with what's happening at the Animal Care Center, Make sure to hang on to your animal chart. Later, you can scan the code with your smartphone or visit our online blog to catch all the latest.
At ball, like we were talking about earlier. Bowley is designed to curl into a tight ball so that every part of his body is going to be defended from any predators. So that's why his claws are actually shaped that way.
Does he bite you?
What was that?
Does it bite?
You know, honestly, he can, but I tend to bite a lot more often than he does, so you kind of got to watch out a little bit more for me. These little animals don't have upper front teeth, so there's really no way for him to bite you unless you took a finger and shoved it all the way to the back of his mouth where his molars were. So please don't do that. I really appreciate it.
Are you allowed to touch him?
If you guys would like, you can. And I tell you what, if you want to touch him, I'm going to scoot him a little bit closer to you. You guys can touch him right over
What do you mean? I just wanted to know if you could touch him, not me.
Oh, no.
Not me.
Now, Oli here is one of 2-3
Touch him, Millie.
that live here at Busch Gardens, and we've been very fortunate because he is the proud father of 2 little babies that are all grown up. They're part of our species survival plan. They actually live at another zoo now because they are adults. One is out at SeaWorld San Antonio, and another one lives out at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. They went out there to help us teach more about these animals because they are near threatened species. So that means they're not really endangered, but they're pretty darn close.
Can I pet him, Millie?
So breeding populations are going to be very important for us to
Pet him.
make sure that their population. If there's food around, they're going to check it out. Yeah, just about. So with most foraging animals like him, they're going to spend
Pet him, Millie.
really searching for everything. So they're really going to spend more energy trying to find
Can you
things.
pet him on the skin?
Well, we don't want to pet him underneath his shell. The reason we don't want to touch him down there is because of the fact that armadillos like him, if he curls up into a bit of a ball, he could actually give you a very nasty pinch. So that's why we really try not to touch him down here, because if he does curl up, your finger is going to get a bit of a pinch. Now, he'd only curl up if he got startled or threatened, and Oli here is pretty much a pro. We try to avoid the face. We try to just touch on that, because if you think about it, if a stranger were to pat you on the back, probably okay, right? What if a stranger walked up and started petting you on the face? That'd be kind of freaky, wouldn't it? I know that would freak me out. He's looking for food right now. So we just had an enrichment activity for him. Basically, we took a lot of his food and we hid it. We hid it under all sorts of ripped up paper. And that paper is going to act just like leaf litter on the forest floor. So out in the wild, Oli spends his days constantly searching for food by digging and trying to sniff out insects and fruits and veggies and other things like that. So it's very important for him to do to make sure he has chances to act like he would out in the wild, to give him fun little activities. That's called enrichment, that lets him use all of the senses he would in the wild, like his great sense of smell and also his great sense of hearing.
Now, why is he he's scared? Because he looks fine to me.
Question. Well, he's not sick right now. This building isn't just for animals that are sick. This building is designed to talk about all the care we give our animals at Busch Gardens. So for the Animal Care Center, this first room is designed as a large kitchen, because this is where we create a lot of diets for them and talk about preventative health. Now, just as mom and dad tell you guys, you gotta eat healthy to be healthy. They're not lying. When they tell you to eat your veggies, they're telling you guys the truth. It's very, very important to make sure that you have good quality nutrition. So a lot of times we'll create diets for animals or fun enrichment activities like this and then bring them out so you guys get a chance to interact with them like this.
Now, why does he have like 2 really sharp claws?
Good question again. If you look at his claws, you guys notice how he kind of walks sort of like this?
Like to stick his food right in his mouth.
Not quite. No, a lot of animals with sharp claws will have them for a reason like that. His, very good. Yeah, do you guys remember exactly what it was earlier? You guys are here when I was talking about that. What does he use those claws for?
Digging.
For digging? Kind of for digging, yeah, but also for hooking, right?
Yeah.
He hooks onto the side of ant and termite gun walls, and then he'll basically rip off the walls with very, very strong muscles in those claws, and it helps him to find all of his food. So since his food normally he has to work for a little bit harder out in the wild, we don't want to just put it on a plate for him, because that's kind of a little boring. He doesn't really get to act and behave like he would in the wild. So instead we come up with fun enrichment activities for him, like burying his food, hiding it in a toy, things that really encourage him to act like he would in the wild. Yes, sir. Why are some on the table? Because they decided to wander off, actually, it looks like it. And this is one of the reasons why we don't only feed things like worms to our animals that eat insects. Now, animals that eat insects are going to run into a bit of a problem too, because we want to know how much food our animals ate, right? That's going to be very important. You guys want to know how much food that your dogs and cats are eating at home, right? You want to make sure that you eat all of their food. Well, sometimes. But vegetables, they don't eat as much as worms, and worms don't really like to stay in the bowl, as these guys demonstrated. So, just as people out there make dog food and cat food, some people make insectivore food, sloth food, flamingo food. There's all sorts of different types of pellets that are created for different species of animals. And it looks like Oli's taking a nap right now.
Is he
Actually,
going
if
to
you swing
sleep?
your camera around over here, you get a lovely shot of his face. He's
Here,
passed
go
out
ahead.
in his little bowl.
Here, go
Oh, we
ahead.
don't want to poke him though. Here. Now we're awake. What's going on? He's
Can
being
you
a
get
bit
a
of a
shot of his
lazy
face?
armadillo. Oh, sure, yeah, I'll bring this down for you.
We're in Thailand.
It's okay.
There we go.
That's really cool, man. And what's the name of this thing?
They're again called a southern three-banded armadillo. They're actually a native of South America, Brazil, Bolivia, some of the surrounding countries. And they were the mascot recently for the 2014 World Cup.
Gotcha.
So little Fuleco, he was in fact a little armadillo, just like these guys. Now the
Yeah.
armadillos here in Florida can't curl up into a ball as he can. There's really only two species that can do that, and they're both found
A
out in South
normal
America.
armadillo and a sweet armadillo.
What are the ones that we see around Florida? Because there's one by my house.
The nine-banded armadillos, yeah, the very long gray ones.
Yeah.
Those guys are nine-banded armadillos. Their difference is that if they feel threatened, they'll dig themselves down, and all that will be exposed is their back. So that's why they can't curl
So
up
it
into
feels
a tight
like
ball.
Gotcha.
like it covers their
Exactly.
face, so no prey can eat them.
Exactly, but what they do
Is he?
also...
Oh, I thought he was curling into a ball.
No, well, and he will fall asleep sometimes like that too. So from a trainer's perspective, it's my job to make sure that if he does curl into a ball, I know exactly why. I don't want him to be out here if he's scared, so if I notice him do it very quickly, that normally tells me that something startled him. But if he
Gotcha.
does it nice and slow, that just means he's going to sleep and we can keep going with our encounter.
Gotcha.
But yeah, one of the biggest goals with our animals is not only making sure that they're healthy, but also that they're comfortable. We never want to put them in a situation where they're not
Like
going
if
to
you
be
put a bad armadillo and a nice armadillo together, they'll start fighting.
Well, we definitely want to make sure that the only time we put those armadillos together is if they would normally be living together. So absolutely right. You guys all get a chance to touch him? He is, yeah. And his name is Oli. It's short for Roly Poly.
Like a four-banded?
He stepped on that one. So
Not quite. He's got one less band than if you were a four-banded. If you look right here in his back, these are 1, 2, 3
he
bands.
has to be 4 years old.
Well, not quite. He doesn't get those bands on his age. That's actually just what his species is going to be.
So it's
More of
easier
a
for
say,
him to roll.
Exactly. Now again, it's really hard to do that. It is very hard, isn't it? And his shell is made out of the same stuff that your fingernails are made out of. Exactly. So for predators trying to eat him, that's a great form of
So
defense.
he can just like they'll break their teeth.
Exactly. The only real predators that can get in all that easily are going to typically be us. Yeah.
Mom, come pet him.
No, he's out for a little encounter with us because we just let him have a whole bunch of snacks on this little plate over here, and it looks like he's finished almost all of them. There's 1 or 2 left, buddy. Back over here we go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Is that another one? He's like, maybe there's more. I don't know. Well, let's try just to touch him right here on the back. And let's be nice and gentle too because he's getting a little tired, I think.
Pet him one more time, Melly, so we can go.
And when you guys are all done touching him, if you guys want to wash your hands off, I've got some hand sanitizer I'm going to put right over here. So when you're all done touching, make sure you wash your hands off. He's not that dirty, but there's a lot of little fingers that have touched him, guys, and we never know where those fingers have been. Honestly, I'm a zookeeper, you never know where my fingers have been, so just wash your hands after you touch it.
I don't really use hand sanitizer.
Well, the
So I
reason...
use washing my hands.
Well, that works.
Thanks a lot, sir.
You're very welcome. Take care, guys. Have a great day.
Generation Change TV. Stay tuned. www.youtube.com/Matrix Diamonds. Stay tuned. You know exactly what I'm looking at.
This is a tawny frogmouth. They are related to whippoorwills and nighthawks.
Can you pet it?
He is not real pettable. That beak of his is not real strong, but he can give you a pretty good pinch if you act like you're not respecting his camouflage. Right now he is trying to persuade us into thinking that he is the branch of a tree, because this is how they spend the
Gotcha.
majority of their day. So even though they're pretty widespread down in Australia, they're very seldom seen because they're just so well camouflaged.
very sharp claws to dig into his prey.
Right. Well, actually, his claws may be sharp, but the feet themselves don't have a lot of gripping power.
I have never seen anything like that, man.
That's why I'm able to get away with holding him on my hand, and I don't have to have a glove like I would with a raptor, because his feet, the scientific name, believe it or not, for the frogmouth, the species name is Podargus, which translates to weak feet. It's not that his feet are particularly weak compared to any other perching bird,
Is
but
it a male or a female?
they used to think he was supposed to be some kind of weird owl, and of course you can't sit an owl on your hand because their claws are so powerful. So they thought, well, you know, this one just has really weak feet, so that's what they called him.
Wow, man.
This one is a boy, although there's not a whole lot of difference between the males and the females. There's a little size difference, but it's not obvious.
He's looking at me trying to be camouflaged, isn't he?
Yep.
I'm not gonna touch you, trust me, I promise. I don't want you biting me.
He just will spend most of the day.
Frogs and insects.
They'll eat any sort of smallish animal. He will eat mice, yeah. But it has to be a small enough animal that he can crush it up with his beak, because he doesn't have the talons to.
Like the little sharp part.
Right. So he.
Not like the owl.
Exactly. So he couldn't eat a very large mouse or a rat. He has to have something that's small enough for him to crush up. So he eats a lot of frogs. He eats a lot of slugs, bugs.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, he'll grab a mouse if he.
It's called a frog mouth.
But,